Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to What's Up With That, the show that brings you interesting people, places, cultures, and subcultures here in the South Bay, the San Francisco Bay Area, the state of California, and beyond. And tonight, what's up with bone marrow transplants? What's up with bone marrow donations? And why is it important for all of us to get involved? Well, let me tell you a little story. My conception, preconception, wrong conception of a bone marrow transplant is like the doctor coming in from the Little Shop of Horrors, the dentist, that's a better way to put it, with like this needle like this big. He's like, oh yeah, into your spine. You're like, oh, and so that was enough to keep me away. Well, wrong. Let me state this again, wrong. That is a misconception. I was told, quite told, mind you, that American medicine has advanced very far in the last years. But what is not a myth is that a lot of people are in need of bone marrow, and a lot of people are dying. And there's a lot of donors needed to help these people to stay alive. And that's what our story is about tonight. So please welcome tonight Stacy Tamaki. She is from helpingtammy.org. What's up? James Wynn, he's from teammatthew.org.
Nice to meet you.
And Carol Gillespie, she's from the Asian American Donor Program.
Hi.
So how you doing?
Great.
What's up? Okay, well, let's start off with, I guess, the basic question. What is the purpose of bone marrow in the body? What is it?
Well, bone marrow actually is your immune system. So it's the bone marrow that makes the blood. So you can't live without it.
Yeah.
And it needs to be healthy.
Yeah, that would play a big part.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
So-
it plays in a part in the production of white blood cells as well, right? To protect you from infections and other diseases and whatnot. Right?
Okay, and so typically, what kinds of diseases are associated with a problem with bone marrow?
There's, blood cancers like leukemia, and my cousin Tammy has another condition called myelodysplasia. People with aplastic anemia, I think, and sickle cell anemia are all candidates who would need a transplant if their bone marrow stopped functioning properly.
Exactly.
So, henceforth, there's a big need. And I guess the donations are not nearly as enough
Yeah,
to
there's
go
about
around. I mean,
there's
Yeah.
about 6,000 people in the country on any given day who are in need of a transplant, a bone marrow or stem cell transplant.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it's necessary for us to increase the number of registrants inside the registry because finding a match for one of these 6,000 people is really difficult.
yeah, we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
So, who is eligible then? Let's start from the process, okay? You obviously what? Someone comes in.
Yeah, they have to be between the ages of 18 years old and 60 years old, meaning they can be 60 and 364 days old. They just can't
Okay.
be 61 yet
Okay.
to be eligible.
That's important now, remember, those last couple days. So basically anyone, right?
Yeah.
Is there a screening that's involved?
Yeah, there's a health guideline that you have to fit into, health criteria that you have to fit into before you can put yourself in the registry.
Okay, and those would be?
There's the obvious ones. If you have HIV, then you can't donate. There's other ones like hepatitis. Certain hepatitis is not all. If you have the
Right.
antibody, then you're good. But it depends on the situation. There's a couple of other ones. And
Yeah, if you've ever had any cancer, Graves' disease, things like that, or if you're severely asthmatic, things like that. But
So when-
generally good health.
exactly.
So when they come in, you have a questionnaire and then you do a blood test on them?
Yep. This is the questionnaire.
Okay.
It's the most painful part. Takes about 7 minutes.
Exactly.
Not
And
the
there's-
needle?
No, there's not a needle.
That's another misconception, right?
This is what's used now.
Exactly.
Is a cotton swab, and they're all keyed with a little sticker that go into the kit that Carol has right there.
Exactly.
And
There's
so
4
the
of them.
people just have to swab this in their mouth. There's 4 of them. It takes 10 seconds per swab. So it's a 7-minute to fill out the registration form and 40 seconds to swab.
Exactly.
And that's about it. It's a less than 10-minute process if
Okay.
you attend a live donor drive.
Exactly. And this 2-step process, that's one thing to emphasize. Is a lot of people that we register is like when that end, they said is that it?
Yeah.
Because people associate you have to.
Well, I mean,
click
I'd be
your
like,
fingers or something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, because
yeah, that's cool, man.
exactly.
I'll be back next week to donate again.
So there's previously you had to prick your fingers and get a blood sample, and we're advanced, as you said, right? So all it is a cotton swab. So the registration process is completely pain free. So
So, okay, so registration. So now they have registered, okay? And then you call them back,
So yeah, so
Is
at
this a
that point,
voluntary thing?
they're in a national database, or actually international database. Or is
Well, they're in the database here in the United
Okay.
States, so it's the national database, but
Yeah.
it's searched throughout the world.
Okay, yeah, they're in a national database, and from that point, the doctors of leukemia patients or other blood disease patients, they can actually search this database to find a potential
Okay.
match. So that's obviously, a cotton swab is not going to get everything about you, but so then it's a preliminary match to kind of like screen it.
okay, and it's sort of like at least they've taken the first step, and so that's
Exactly.
better than.
But you have to match a patient 100%, or 10 out of 10 antigens have to match.
Yeah.
And that's very difficult. So
Right.
it's very racially specific. So if you're Chinese, your most likely donor is going to be Chinese.
Yeah.
If you're Japanese, your most likely donor is going to be Japanese. It seldom crosses race.
Right, and so it's a lot like donating an organ. I mean, it's almost kind of the same.
Yeah, but this to emphasize that it is like donating an organ, but this is a replenishable organ, right? When you give people your when you give people like your
Right,
cells
that's
and whatnot.
actually a very important point.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because that was going to be my next question. Well, so what happens to the marrow that I just got rid of?
It replenishes in your
Yeah,
body.
why
So-
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, did you just
So-
take half my immune system? Or what's up now? Achoo.
No. And the way that the marrow is taken is also advanced in medicine.
Yeah.
So 30% of the donations that are done are still done using a needle, and it's the back of the pelvic bone or hip bone where they draw the marrow from, not the spine. But 70% of the people who donate now donate through blood through a process called peripheral stem cell donation. And so you're given a medicine that causes your bone marrow to, overproduce stem
Okay.
cells. Those are released from the bone itself into your bloodstream. So to donate, it's just like donating blood, except
Okay.
for they take your blood out, they harvest the stem cells, then they give you the rest of your blood back.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, they don't take all the blood out at once.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
what are some of the myths that they need to know about donating? Because I think I sort of started off with one, but what would be, does this hurt?
People think that it hurts a lot.
Exactly.
They think that they're going to take out a piece of their bone, which
Well-
neither is the case.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's,
It's
Yeah.
just the term bone marrow, right? People don't
Right.
know what it is, and
Right.
once they associate bone, you're gonna touch my bone. That's kind of like
yeah,
what's
don't
what's going on?
touch
Don't do
my
that, right?
bone. Okay.
But it's kind of like the chicken. You eat a chicken bone. You eat chicken at the restaurant. And you just break it open.
Yeah.
Okay, inside is that marrow.
Right.
Of course, that's cooked.
Yeah.
But marrow is just like a blood-like substance that runs through your bones.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And to emphasize, 30% of the time is done through an actual, a needle prick in your pelvic bone to actually
Yeah.
get the bone marrow. But 70% of the time is through blood transfusion, which is a very big misconception. Is like because it hurts a lot kind of thing. Both, and one thing to emphasize, both processes are outpatient, and they can
It's
go home.
important to emphasize this pain factor, because I think the pain factor is,
Yeah.
honestly, like if I
Yeah.
was to walk by and sign up for a bone marrow transplant, the first thing, because I'm a pain freak, I'm like, ah!
Yeah. Well, the thing. It's not painful, but it's not completely painless.
Yeah.
So with marrow, you're completely out because you have general anesthesia. You're under general anesthesia. But when you wake up, you're going to feel sore, achy, and black and blue. But the strongest medicine they give you is Tylenol, so it can't be that painful. And for peripheral blood stem cells, the 4 days that you're receiving the shots or the injections, you'll feel like you're coming down with the flu, bone aches and pains. Who hasn't had that?
Right.
And a little bit of a headache. But I mean, that's it. To save
Yeah.
someone's life, I mean, really, that's not
know.
a lot
Exactly.
to ask.
I know.
Yeah.
But people can be selfish.
No,
so-
no,
Exactly.
no. And I know people are afraid of
Definitely.
pain, but it's not really considered pain. It's more of a tenderness and being
Okay,
uncomfortable.
we'll save that thought. We're going to take a short studio break, and we'll be right back to talk about this very interesting subject. So we'll see you in a second. All right, we're back here with What's Up With That, talking about bone marrow transfusions and donations. And it's been a very interesting conversation so far. I hope you're still watching and getting interested in helping some people, because as Stacy had said before, there's thousands of people that are in dire need of this. So this is really not a funny situation. How hard is it to find a match?
If you're Caucasian, your odds are pretty good that 80% of Caucasians will find the match that they need.
Is that just because Caucasians will donate more, or is it?
It's because right now in the National Registry, well, the statistics as of January 3rd of this year, of 2009, there are 7.4 million people in the registry.
Okay.
5.4 million are Caucasian.
All right.
And in the instance of like my cousin being Japanese American, there's less than 33,000 Japanese Americans in the registry.
Okay.
So those are the odds.
Exactly.
You know, for her to find someone here in the National Registry.
Okay, so when we talk about the perfect match, then you kind of mentioned it. Maybe you can talk a little more. What is involved in the perfect match? It has to be a perfect, absolute.
Well, the best match would be a 10 out of 10. That means that the patient would survive the transplant and do well. And
So when you mean a 10 out of 10, you have a 10-point scale that you test?
There are 10 human leukocyte antigens. They're like these little proteins that sit on your white cells.
Okay.
And they identify you. So there's 10 of those antigens that we need to match. Okay, if you only find a 9 out of 10, that's still good, but a 10 out of 10 would be ideal.
Okay.
So a lot of ethnic minorities don't or can't find that 10 out of 10 because there aren't enough ethnic minorities registered in the database. So the more people we have registered, the better opportunity we have of finding a donor for those patients.
And is that because the Asian or the African American are less inclined to do this? So is it a misunderstanding? Is it a miseducation? What's going on?
I think it's a lack of education about the need and how easy it is to actually donate. So I think that's our biggest hurdle, getting that information out to the community, because I think everybody's willing to help save a life. I mean, you know,
Once you can talk to them one-on-one
Exactly.
Yeah.
and explain the process and the need. Because a lot of times people think, oh, well, if someone gets sick, they'll just go to a family member and they'll have the matching marrow. But in
Right.
actuality, only 30% of the transplants done are from a family member.
Yeah, that's
70%
amazing, because I
are
would
from
think
strangers.
that would be your prime source.
Yeah.
Yeah.
An
It doesn't
ideal
help.
situation. But like my cousin doesn't have siblings. So her chance of, you know, finding a match was over before it began, basically.
Well, let's bring this to a human level then. Tell me about your cousin. And
my
what's
cousin
going on?
is only a year older than me, really. Well, actually, we're the same age right now. So she's 44 years old, and she has 2 young children. And she was in seemingly perfect health pretty much her whole life until about 7 weeks ago, when she started suffering from exhaustion.
Okay.
And, you know, extensive testing concluded that she had this condition that some sources will call it a syndrome, others now classify it as a blood cancer. So I don't really know what to call it myself, to be honest. But the end effect is it's very similar to leukemia. And the myelodysplasia, a third of the patients who get this condition, it will progress to become a form of leukemia within months or years. So if we can find her a donor before that transformation happens, she'll obviously have a much better chance of
So what's the
surviving.
timeline on something like this?
It varies patient to patient. There's no real set timeline. I've read for people who don't receive supportive treatment, it's like, and they have a more acute type of myelodysplasia, because there's 5 types, ranging from fairly benign to very serious. It's like a 2-year range without treatment. But my cousin's been receiving treatment since she got sick. So
she found a match, or?
no, we haven't found a match yet. And another thing people don't always realize is a lot of people think, well, I'll register when someone I know gets sick. But I'm urging people, don't wait to do that, because I don't think most people realize that from the day you get tested, like at the donor drives we do, it's basically a 4 to 5 month turnaround time between getting that swab processed into the registry, the preliminary testing that James mentioned, and then the more formal confirmative testing. And if it's someone you love and care about who's sick, you'll be kicking yourself that they may have to wait 10 extra weeks just to get your sample in the registry because you never got tested before.
The other thing you want too that's important is if you are diagnosed with a life-threatening disease like this and you need a transplant, you want to find a donor right away. You don't want to wait until your disease progresses to the state where you're not going to survive even if you have the donor. And that's a lot of ethnic minorities are faced with that because the donor just isn't in the registry. So let's get them in the registry now, so that when someone's diagnosed, boom, they can find a donor and have the transplant.
Exactly.
So let's talk about the registry then. Once they're in the registry, let's say, okay, they might have registered 2 years ago or something. I mean, who knows? How many people, once you call them, actually donate?
Maybe 40%.
That's a shame.
Yeah. No, actually 40% will donate if they're actually called to donate. We call a lot of people that are potential matches, and then they end up not being matches. Some of those people we can't find. Some of those people say no. Some of those people have health conditions, so they can't any longer. But say 12% of the people that we actually call go forward to the next stage, and then only 46% of those people will actually donate.
So actually, the registrars, in reality, it's a lot smaller than it sounds.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow, that's a lot of work. So how are you connected to this?
So Matthew, he's been my friend for over half my life. He's actually not even my friend. I consider him part of my family. So then he, in June of 2007, he had a bloody nose, I guess, one night. Then that bloody nose just never stopped. He actually went to the hospital, and they checked up on him. Then they just told him that night that he had leukemia. Then a couple of days later, he just started his treatment. He started his chemotherapy. And it's kind of sad because he's about my age. He was in the middle of pharmacy school in Virginia, and luckily he was over here for a rotation. Then he went to a hospital in California, Southern California, close to his family. So so it was fortunate that he was here, but the circumstances were, bad. So from that point, he's actually in his 6th round of chemo right now to actually keep the leukemia cells out of his body while we're out here trying to find more people registering more people to help him find a match. So
this is important, people. I'm telling you, this is important. You need to help out.
Yeah, definitely.
We all need to help out.
And the statistics are staggering. Stacey was saying that the ethnic minority, the Asian population, I guess the percentage of Asian people in the registry is about 7%. And Vietnamese, which is Matt's Vietnamese, is actually 0.2% Vietnamese people. You can actually count them as 17,000 people, and none of those are the match for Matt at this point. We need more people at this point. So.
Okay. Well, hold that thought. We're going to take a short station break, and we'll be back to talk about bone marrow transplant and why you need to get involved.
Hi, I'm Ted Lempert, president of Children Now. We're a children's advocacy organization that seeks to ensure that every child has the opportunity to reach their full potential. And in addition to advocating on behalf of kids for sound education and good health care, we put out studies and a report card on how children are faring. So we encourage you to come to our website at childrennow.org, where you can get information on how children are doing in your community and throughout the state, and also give you information and tools so that you can work with us and help us make a difference and ensure that every child has the opportunity to reach their full potential. Thank you.
Welcome back. We're here talking about bone marrow transfusion and donation. And one of the questions that I would like to know for myself is, what are the risks involved? What are the risks involved? Potential risks, any kind of risks.
If you're called as a donor and actually are able to donate to a patient, the risk would be for peripheral blood stem cells. There really is no risk except for you're going to feel like you're coming down with the flu and maybe get a headache. As soon as the collection of those stem cells happen, then those symptoms go away. So the risk there isn't all that great. Actually, there's no risk. For bone marrow, because you go under general anesthetic, there's a small, very small chance of infection with any operation. So again, that would be the only risk.
It would be the same as donating blood or something as well. I mean, there's
For peripheral blood, yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And another misconception when we're talking about it, that there might be, I guess, sharing of some sort of blood between the patient and yourself. There's no risk of that at all. It's not.
Okay. Well, that's
It's not one of those things where you can transfer.
Well, that's
it out.
actually a big.
And actually, 30% of the transplants are done internationally, where the patient and donor live in different countries.
Okay.
So that alleviates that risk also.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
pretty risk-free.
Yeah.
So All right. So we're ready to donate, right?
Yeah.
So, or help. So let's talk about what we can do to help.
So the main thing is, there's the main thing you can do is register. Put yourself in the registry, so you can be part of the database for leukemia patients to look for a match. So there's several ways so you can register. The easiest way is to attend a drive.
Okay.
That's because we have a lot of support at drives. There's people out there taking you to step by step in terms of the registration process, give you all the information, educate you. So that's the biggest one. You can also order a home kit. A lot of people don't actually know that. You can actually order a kit to be sent to your house, so you actually never have to leave your couch if you wanted to. Basically, mail it back.
That's about half the Americans.
So
makes it really easy now. Okay,
You order it
I'm telling you, it's
online.
user friendly.
Exactly.
So.
And
you just order online.
Exactly,
Yeah.
order online,
So-
and all the information that you need is there. And there's definitely support for you to call somebody if you had a question. The last one is to visit a dedicated center. If you can't come out to a drive, and you don't want to mail out or get a mail request, you can actually visit like AADP's office and set up an appointment. They can actually register you at the office. So there's always a place you can go to register. So.
What if someone just went to a hospital or something like that?
No, the hospital wouldn't have the swabs available. They don't have the consent form, so it is pretty specific. But we do have drives set up throughout the entire Bay Area and certainly throughout the entire country. But you can just go to AADP, our website, www.aadp.org, and you can either click on the calendar and see all the drives that we're hosting throughout the community, or you can order the home kit, or there are other options. You can just call us.
Yeah.
And the number of drives they do is staggering.
Yeah.
I mean,
It
there's
is,
like almost a drive a day,
Right.
and some days there's 3 or 4 drives all throughout the Bay Area,
That's
all
because
the way
you're
up to
dedicated
Sacramento.
people.
Well,
exactly.
that's all we
Yeah.
do.
So it's
Yeah.
very easy for people to find a location if they'd like to
Exactly.
attend a live drive.
And there's also information from Stacy's, Helping Tammy's website, and also Team Matthew's website. We actually promote that as well. And we have different avenues, I guess, to make it more convenient for people to keep updated with these drives. So Team Matthew has a Facebook group, MySpace group, we Twitter. Then the website has all the uniform information. Everything is on there. So.
Emailing you.
Yeah, we definitely email a ton of people. And another way they can help is, instead of registering, they can also contact us to volunteer.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
Yes, definitely.
WDP actually has a volunteer.
Yeah, because you
link
can't
on
do
the
this
site.
without volunteers.
Yeah,
Exactly.
we can't.
We
It's
just had
impossible.
19
Yeah.
volunteers at the drive we did last
Exactly.
weekend, and
Yeah.
Team Matthew sent 7 out, and I
Yeah.
scrounged together 12 people.
See?
And it was great. You know, the AEDP came, had 2 people there. I also wanted to say, if people are watching this and they don't live in the Bay Area, they can go to Marrow.org, which is the National Donor Program site. And there's a page on there where you enter your zip code, and it'll
They'll tell you where,
bring up all the donor
Yeah.
drives, whether you
right.
live in Boston or
Yeah.
Texas or
Right.
Kansas. It'll show you where your drives are.
So there's no excuse.
Yeah.
If you're willing,
Well, if you're
willing, there's a way.
I guess not. So, not to change the tempo of this, but realistically, how many people actually get their marrow? Percentage-wise. I don't want to bring a damper to the-
36,000 people are diagnosed with leukemia every year. Probably 1,200 to 1,250 ethnic minorities, or Asians, I should say, will find a donor.
So,
The rest will die.
Yeah. And
wow. That's not good.
no.
No. And it can change. I mean, we can change this. The power is in us to do
Right.
that.
The
And
power
that's
is always in us.
just take that simple step of registering. Step number 1. You can't save a life if you don't register.
Exactly.
And tell people.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
my tagline on Tammy's site is to smile, swab, and spread the word.
Okay.
And we're
We
spreading.
need a jingle with that, though.
You know, we're spreading the word, not just locally.
Yeah.
I'm trying to encourage people in
Yeah.
other countries to join the registries in Japan, in Korea, in China. You know, get people in all these other countries. So
It's
if
always-
you know someone who lives there,
Yeah.
ask them to tell people.
The truth of the matter is, it's always hard to talk to people about difficult situations.
Yes.
So whenever you're going to do a drive, no matter what it is, I mean, it's hard.
Yep.
And so I think, by being out there and, and the kit. I like the kit.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what's going to stick in my mind is the kit, because it's something where people
Yeah.
won't feel as intimidated with, and you know, and again, you're dealing with blood too, so that carries a whole umbrella of thoughts and possibilities, like you mentioned, you know, and that's
Yeah.
and it's all false, like,
Yeah, exactly.
it.
you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, what do you want to say to our viewers? We're getting close to the end of the show. It's time for you to speak out. Tell them what you want. Stand up, make a point. I'll start. You people need to get involved. I've always said this from the beginning. If there's people dying, I mean, this is a no-brainer. Let's start off with that. This is an absolute no-brainer. If there's people dying, and you two have very good friends, relatives, I mean, what's the problem? You need to get out there.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'd like to just reiterate, don't wait to get registered. Register now. A patient's need is most urgent and critical when they're diagnosed, not 6 months later when they start to really go downhill. A diagnosis is their best opportunity to receive that transplant and recover fully.
Exactly. Registering is one, so there's multiple ways to help. Registering is one, volunteer, and spreading the word, because education is the biggest thing, right? Before the segment, I'm pretty sure that your view of bone marrow transplant was kind of narrow, so then it's kind of expanded a bit. It doesn't take too long to actually educate people on what's going on.
Right.
So definitely spread the word and register.
Okay, we only have a couple seconds.
Okay, how often in your lifetime will you be able to donate an organ? You get your organ back, you have to be alive and healthy. And how awesome would it be that you would be one of those select few that get to save a life?
Well said. All right. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show. The best of success. I hope that your friends find their match and that, you know, they will, you know.
We're hoping and praying.
Yeah, that's all you can do at this point. Well, that's not all you can do. We need them.
Exactly.
we need the donor.
all
All of
together.
you that are watching, I want you to contact these organizations, and I want you to either volunteer or donate or do both. That would even be better. You know, together, I've always said we can change the world, we can save the world, but we have to do it together. So thank you very much. Thank you very much. And to our viewing audience, as always, if you're walking down the street and you see something interesting and you wonder to yourself, hey, what's up with that? Well, tune into our show, What's Up With That, and maybe you'll find exactly what you're looking for. We'll see you next week on What's Up With That. Good night, everybody.